Take care of it. I live up in Cyprus. So I've lived in Katy, Lisa, Cyprus. Kind of covered this. I haven't been to the east side. I worked on the east side. You know, I don't think so. I remember it it's hard to keep track. I do this a couple times a month. 8 years. So we're spending to build our assets. If we do all that, truck gets to the game. Well, that's a different. But my job is to really make sure so really investing, making sure there's investment.
Anyway.
So just working with tech stuff, making sure that their project is great. No, I think yeah, I'm the only person that's ever had that job. And we're one of the few, I think we're the only board, especially that has some. You know, it would be easy because it's very rich. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I hope so. Here. But it's good. When I have time, it's because Jackson, Florida. So
I try to keep this runway open for the camera.
Oh, okay. Then,
So I usually come up here and clean it up after you. So this spot's here. This spot's good.
okay.
You can see down here that this runway set up for you. And I'm trying to be more aware of that because the sunshine showers bowl often comes back and set right there, or the bowl gets set there and it looks like Citizen Kane set these crazy angles that Alfred.
Everything I have at some point comes through because, like your car, all of the pieces in your car are plastic. Nice to meet you. All the things plastic in your car is made from resin. But for a reason, they get exported and come back.
What would it be
pretty much.
It's not. Be fine.
I have your permission. Yes, sir.
Mark, I know you're about ready to get your meeting started. Did you get my email? Okay.
Okay, we're ready to, well, do we need to have a vocation? You said. Yeah. All rise. The beginning of our Rotary Club meeting today. Thank you for being here. The first order of business is our invocation, and we are honored that Tracy would be here to do that for us. Tracy Walker.
Thank you. I just came from an Emmaus walk. Can y'all hear me?
Let's get this. Here we go.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Woo-hoo! So,
No, it's not.
okay, I can project. I just came from an Emmaus walk. It's for a whole weekend where they take your cell phone away, they take your watch away, and you have to rely on God. It was the most amazing transformational event. So with this, we're going to go in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this amazing day. Thank you for your grace that you give upon us every day that we wake up. Thank you for the grace that brought our friends all the way from Ukraine to visit us. We ask blessings over them and their country. We ask blessings over every being and person on this planet. Dear Lord, we ask that you shine your light within us as Rotarians to lead other people to you, to God's grace, and to know that Rotary is blessed by you. And please close in your own way. I close in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing, and Ward Pendleton is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge to our great flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. See if we can get this working. Great. Coleman is going to lead us in our sunshine and showers. Very first thing we're going to be doing. And we've got a great lineup, a great speaker today. A lot of things that you're going to find chock filled to make this a memorable day in your Rotary experience. And not the least of which we'll be talking in more detail, but we're also honored to have Mandy with us as our district governor. She's very special, and she's going to be, in fact, I'm going to call on her in just a moment to introduce the table where she sits and why that is special and unique, and why they have their own interpreters sitting with them to help make sense of this meeting to them. So with that, and now we're going to have Coleman, sunshine and showers.
How many volunteers for today's sunshine?
You want a mic?
I got $20 here. This is going to our fundraiser. In April.
I just wanted to introduce our exchange student and our host father here. We have Ray Jensen. He's our host father. Paul. He's our source. Get a chance to come by and say hello.
We have anyone else for today's Sunshine Flowers?
Put in $20 for you today to thank you for having us. And we have had a very special week together, and it's not over yet, but it's going to go by too fast, I'm sure. So I'll come back to introductions soon, but it's just great to be here today. Thank you very much.
When you say that, when you stand
Hi, you all. My name is Alexander, and I'm the Ukrainian interpreter for this Ukrainian back. I'm originally from Ukraine, currently on a temporary release to Sacramento, California, where I work as the interpreter. The Ukrainians asked me to share their happiness of being here. They asked me to share the happiness of having a wonderful professional program. I wanted to thank everybody at the bar who helped creating their wonderful program, and they asked me, they chipped in 300 Ukrainian. I'm not going to tell you how much this is dollars. Just they asked me to develop this 300.
I just want everyone to know my flowers are doing fine, but the bigger thing is this flower is back in Rotary after recovering from a fall, and we are glad to have her. And say hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Okay, I do not ever carry cash, so I have cleaned out the coins in my car, and it makes a cool noise. So, today is my first day as the Director of Communications and Events at the Outreach Center of West Houston. It's a lot of words. I'm still a practicing realtor and writing magazine articles, but that door opened because of Todd Breton, so I want to publicly thank him. Thank you. And I'm really excited about it. And I mean, this morning there are people that walked in that are full-grown adults that don't know how to read that walked in. And people, anyway, sorry, it's just really awesome to be part of it. Also, PETS was this last weekend, and it was really awesome and full of lots of learning and good information. So I'm excited about this next year. So that's me today.
I never carry cash on me. Them with the money, I promise. I'm gonna do $5. Three of the $5 is last weekend, as Natalie mentioned, was Lone Star Pets in Dallas. I wasn't able to participate the whole weekend. That was my 5th time, and every year it just gets better and better. It's really, really good. And I did a session on Thursday night, and from what I remember, what I counted, I think I had a total of 130 people come to my session. So I was pretty super excited about that. And then the other $2 is I was not here the week after our 5K, but we netted about $4,500. We had the most attendance we've ever had at 5K. Super fun. So thanks everybody that helped support it. And I've already scheduled next year already. It's already on the books for the city.
I'm going to echo in on the pets. That's for the president-elect training. And our club was there in force. Not only Natalie, but Mark, as our nominee, was there. And I think they're working on a strategic plan with our club. We had not only Todd, but also Jeff was there as instructors on it. And like Todd, multiple times, this is my 2nd time, had a little gap, 36 years in between.
So, hey, Todd, can you get those 130 people to come to Shrimp Fest?
I'll send an email.
Yeah, send an email. Mary, this is for you, all right, your flowers. I don't know if you know, but bluebonnets are out in force in between here on I-10 and 71, in between here and Austin. And I got to go see my 6-month-old granddaughter this weekend, and so my wife loves flowers like you, so I thought I would do that for you. And we'll update more on Shrimp Fest here in a minute. Todd, send that email.
Christie, here you go.
Good afternoon. Always positive things going on in the school district. So right down the street, Dulles High School, just this past weekend, took first place in the state academic decathlon. And so that is the 7th year that they have taken first place. So they will represent the state of Texas in the national competition at the end of April. So quite commendable, a lot of very bright minds and strong work ethic.
Sunshine flowers for today. Okay, we'll look forward to next week. Oh. There you go. Cover for. Thank you very much.
You. Thank you. And we are honored to have a number of guests today, and I'd like to make you aware of those. First, you have met Rolf, our exchange student. Again, it's great to have you joining us, and we look forward to your speaking to the club sometime later this spring. That'll be something to look forward to. And Mindy Snyder is our district governor, District 5890. It's an honor to have you join us with all the busy schedule that you've got to keep. And while we're going to be seeing you, with the All Club event in March 15th. Well, but it's a treat to have you come by. Would you like to say a few things to our club?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I got the pleasure of meeting this wonderful team, this One World team on Sunday night. I have to tell y'all, Robin Charlesworth has been amazing in putting this together for them. But to sit in the room and listen to them and share their life stories and what's been going on there, it just makes you think of how blessed we are to be here. They are enjoying their time here, and they're going to be going back soon. So I'm going to let Robin give a little bit more on them. And if somebody happens to have a check for me, Raleigh said he couldn't be here today, but he would give me a check for the Longhorn. So if you have it, oh, back
there it is.
Thank you.
Speaking, it will be answered.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about the Open World program. I have some experience with it from 2019 when I hosted our first Open World team in our district, actually. We had a couple of other medical teams at that time, but I chose energy for my team in 2019, and I chose energy as the main focus for this team as well. So they can, Open World teams are sponsored by our U.S. Congress. And so they're brought from other countries to come and learn and share their knowledge and learn from our experts. And Houston's the energy capital of the world. So I thought we can pull off a pretty good program, I think, for them here in Houston. So their focus this year is energy security. They have an Open World facilitator. This is Olin. Oh, and by the way, I hosted all of them at my house because another hostess that I had came down with COVID. So they're all under one roof, which makes it really easy for me with transportation. Okay, actually, would you each stand up and just say
Yuri.
they're all from
Hello, my name is Yuri. I'm glad to see you.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Alona, and I'm very happy to be here.
Доброго дня всім. Мене звати Олександр. Я працюю в Національному енергетичному регуляторі. Займаюся питаннями розвитку природного газу в Україні.
Hello to you all. My name is Alexander and I work for the National Regulator, Energy Regulator, and I specifically am tasked with developing the market of oil and gas industry.
My name is Victoria Vasilyuka, think tank Dixie Group.
Show some work on the Dixie Group think tank.
We've been busy going to the Baker Institute and hearing some top-notch speakers there at Rice University. We'll be back on this campus this afternoon for a poster presentation. We spent the morning at Greater Houston Partnership and also stopped by Project Cure to see how we are shipping medical supplies to Ukraine. And we just had a very busy program, and tomorrow we'll be at NASA. So that gives you a glimpse into some of our agenda this week. Thank you very much.
Robin, thank you. That is Robin Charlesworth. She works with the Rotary Club and represents the Rotary E-Club of Houston and is very involved as hosting the Open World team from the Ukraine, as you can tell. And thank you. Thanks so much to each of you for joining us today. It's our pleasure. And now I also want to be sure that additional guests, Paul Barnett, guest of Suzanne Wadley. Paul, good to have you. Sally Kubiak is back with us today. Sally, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. You have met previously, you met Ray Jansen, who is the host of the Exchange Student. And Ray, it's good to have you join us today as well. And then I think we have met everyone else. And Mindy, again, it's great to have you and thank you for the work you do for the district. And now I'm going to call on the very first, Scott Finley is being called on to speak to the Shrimp Fest committee.
Steve's gonna go first.
But Steve is going to go first.
Governor Mindy, I'm just curious, what Rotary Club has the largest sign up for the all club meeting so far?
Now, we did have tables, and we have a couple that have 2 tables. So we have, y'all have 4? Oh my goodness, okay, well, that we
I've been in Rotary for 46 years. You know what that means? I've been raising money for 46 years. And what I found the toughest part of raising money is getting started. And the tough part of getting started is knowing how to ask, what to say. So I want to share with you what works for me. I'm just going to read it. It's very concise. I sent an email to a group and I sent the email to me and I put them as blind copy. I said, greetings. I'm wearing my Rotary fundraising hat today. Sugar Land Rotary is restarting our Shrimp Fest on April 15th. Time, place. The Shrimp Fest feeds between 1,500 and 1,800 on average. I wanted to ask you to consider supporting our fundraiser. As you know, 100% of the money that is contributed goes to charities. Rotary is the best vehicle for doing good in the world. We have sponsorships from 500,000 up to 10,000 that gives event recognition and free meal tickets. Our $100 raffle is for a $12,000 home generator. Shrimp Fest meal tickets are $25 each. Let me know if you would be so kind as to support our fundraiser. I'll call or speak with you this week. Sending that to them by email, it's not a cold call when you call them. They know why you're calling. They've already decided what they're going to do. This is a really easy way to get started. So I have some copies if anybody wants it. And another thing I want to mention to you, we're going to do this next year. We're going to do this every year. So I recommend getting a notebook, a black book, make a list of who you talk to, their responses, keep your letter or mine in there as a reference, and just make it easier each year. What you're going to find is your friends are going to start putting it in their budget. It's going to get easier and easier because they know you're going to be asking. So let me know if you, I'll go around and you'll get the first one. All right, Scott. That's it.
Steve, if you don't mind, give that script to Dean and he'll put it out on email so everyone will have it. It's really easy for you to grab it off of the Google Drive, I think is what he calls it. I don't know what that thing is. All right, so Steve, I probably couldn't have said it better, but I hope you guys realize that we're about 45 days away from this event taking place. And so I mentioned a couple months ago about let's
not procrastinate. And I know you Rotarians are famous for waiting till the last minute. So I'm not worried that we're not going to get this done, but I do need your help, and you can help in a lot of different ways. Steve mentioned raffle tickets. If you have not picked your raffle tickets up, I have them at the back. We limited these to 600 this year, so we've got to sign them out to you by number. And we're going to try to get you to sell as many as you can. If you can't sell them all, you got to bring them back. We'll try to sell them the day of the event. Please note that this is a raffle ticket only. It's not a food ticket. So we also have food tickets at the back. You can take as many of these as you want. They're $25 a piece. And if you want to eat at the event, you got to buy a raffle ticket. It's that simple, right? For children, just so you know, for the little kids that are coming, we will have hot dogs for them. If you buy a food ticket, then we will feed your child with a hot dog if they don't want peel and eat shrimp and catfish. Personally, I don't really like peel and eat shrimp either, so I may have a hot dog. All right, but we have lots of advertising. We have these that are printed at the back. Take these into businesses that you patronize. Ask them to put this up, please. Ask them for an auction donation or a sponsorship donation. You know, my father-in-law, he's passed on now, but he told me from the time I first met him, you don't get nothing if you don't ask for it. And so if you guys are not bold enough to go ask your friends, people, businesses that you patronize or that you do business with, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get zero, right? So it's not that difficult for us to go and ask. I've sold 13 raffle tickets since last week just by asking people, you know, and it's not that hard. No, they don't have to be there to win. We would love for them to be there so that their name gets called out and we can bring them on stage, and hopefully they'll buy auction items while they're there too. There's an ulterior motive to getting them there. So that's the other thing is, even if your friends tell you they can't afford to buy a raffle ticket or sponsor, sell them a food ticket, get them to the event. Here's the hardest thing for the planning people, the committees that are trying to figure out is we don't have any idea how many people are going to show this year because we haven't done this in so long and opened it up to the community. So we really need people to show up because they will participate in more than just eating a meal. Just so you know, and Darla's not here today, but we're going to have a bid board auction. We're going to have a live auction. But Darla wants to do what's known as a bucket auction as well. So we're going to have a bucket auction of silent items that don't make the bid board, and people can buy tickets and put them in the ones that they want. We'll draw out a ticket and they win that item at the end. The Rotary Club of, I can't remember which one. One of the other Rotary clubs did it. They made $10,000 just off of that one item. So there's a lot of money that can be made by doing something really simple like that. We have sponsor forms at the back. We have donation form or auction item donation forms, and Dean, they can download these off the Google Drive, right? So if you don't want to take these with you today and you're tech savvy, go to the Google Drive, download them, and please start bringing that stuff in. We need to get it in because we need to have an idea of where we stand. Remember, what is our goal for this year, net? Say it loud and proud, Bill Griffin. 150,000 was my goal at the beginning of the year. That's net of all expenses. Now, Mr. Naysayer, Jeff Tallis, doesn't believe we can do it.
That's not true.
Jeff Tallis told me I was crazy.
Well, I did say that.
And you know what? I may be crazy. I think we can still do this, guys, but I need your help and I need you to start now. We can't afford to wait any longer, okay? Thank you very much for your time. And as Charlie Meyer used to say, I thank you for your time, talent, and treasure.
Thank you. And here's a guy who knows what he's talking about. We have a lot of confidence in Scott. Thank you. And now, Natalie, are you going to do the Rotarian of the Month? Please.
The other one. All right, so our Rotarian of the Month is someone who truly rocks on a seismic level, and Bill Griffin, that one's for you, pun intended. Okay, so he has a big heart for service and is quick to jump in and help where help is needed. If you've ever gotten here early enough, you can see him helping to set up and run the technology for our meetings and to speak to his mind for technology. So here's evidence of his technological brain. He's been a geophysicist, a navigation processing manager, an advanced technology group manager, a senior research geophysicist, director of research and research project manager, and vice president of technology. So his research interests, I find this fascinating that he has a heart for making information accessible, but the curation of a non-proprietary seismic library for research, testing, software demonstration, and training end users, as well as practical development, implementation, and commercialization of seismic processing technology. So this particular person may not want to be in the limelight, but I think as a club, it's important to recognize and show our gratitude. So please stand in honor of Mr. Carl Schleicher.
Hey, Carl.
Carl, congratulations. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Muthu to come to you'll come up along with Jeff Tallis. Jeff is the sponsor for Muthu's application for membership. And what an honor today. Muthu, I'm going to just present this. If you'll hold that where the audience can see. You've been chosen to membership for the Rotary Club of Sugar Land because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in your vocation, in the software vocation. And because you manifest those qualities of head and of heart, which fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary to those with whom you come in contact. We want you to represent the Rotary Club within your vocation, and we want your vocation to be represented to our club through your involvement in your membership. The honor and privilege carries with it duties and obligations. We expect you to attend the club's meetings regularly, to perform your share of club service, and to place your knowledge and talents at the disposal of the club in its task of carrying the principles of Rotary into the daily life of the community. And with that in mind, Muthu Velayatham, it is now my distinct pleasure in the name of the Rotary Club of Sugar Land to formally admit you to membership in this club and ask that your sponsor affix to you our emblem. And with that, we have the package. There's a pen in there, and there's also a lot of stuff for you to take home and commit to memory. And to the members of our club, Muthu is going to take a moment to address you, and then we will move right along to Bill Griffin coming up to move forward with our program for today.
I'm not used to the mic. Muthu Velayatham, happy to meet you all. And I was here a couple of weeks and I met most of you, and I'll get introduced to each one of you. And I'm running a software business. It's nationwide, have employees all across United States. I have a small office in Sugar Land. You could go see me. And I'm not new to Rotary Club, and I'm part of Rotary Club since March of 2021, when I joined this 5890 in action, where I met Jeff Tallis on the day one or something at his home. So that's how I got introduced. And I'm not new to Rotary. I get used to all of you down the line. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you as a new member of our club. And please, as we break up today, find a way to seek him out and welcome him to this club. Thank you so much. Bill Griffin.
Thanks, Marvin. Very excited today to introduce our speaker. Bruce Mann is the Director of Freight Mobility for the Port of Houston. He's responsible for maritime-related freight transportation activities, as well as identifying and supporting freight transportation projects that improve access to the Port of Houston facilities, that help enable growth in our commerce and also reduce transportation costs. He's recognized as a freight and transportation industry expert, and in 2020 was recognized by both the North American Rail Shippers Association and the Southwest Association of Rail Shippers as their 2020 Person of the Year. Bruce is actively involved in, he's also actively involved in engaging in the fight against human trafficking in the Houston region. He's been recognized for this work by the Center of Houston's Future as their 2018 Impact Person and 2021 Global Port Executive of the Year. He has an MBA from the University of Phoenix, Houston campus, and an undergraduate degree from Jacksonville University. And today, Bruce is going to speak to our club about the Port of Houston and its economic impact to Fort Bend County. So if you all would please join me in giving a warm Sugar Land welcome to Mr. Bruce Mann.
Thank you. I'm gonna try to get this right, but Dobry den, which means good afternoon in Ukrainian. Congratulations to Carl and Ruta on your recognition today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the board. I'm the only person to ever have my job, which means no one knows what I do, which is the best position to ever be in. I'm the director of freight mobility for the Port of Houston. What that really means is we're spending about $1 billion on our infrastructure. We're spending about $1 billion on the Houston Ship Channel to make it deeper and wider. If we do all of that and the product gets to our exit gate, it can't move anywhere, we haven't done anything. So my job is to make sure that we invest as a region in our road and rail network to keep goods moving through our region into and out of it. So that's that. I moved to Houston 22 years ago. To be honest, I didn't even know we had a port. I lived in Katy and the port's like all the way on the east side of town and I never went there. I've been at the port 8 years now and I can tell you, we have a port. It's a pretty big deal. Here's some numbers on that to put it in context. If Texas was a country, we would have the 9th largest economy in the world. The Port of Houston is 20% of the Texas economy. If you take Texas ports together, if you took the economies of the Texas ports, and we're 80% of it, but if you put them all together, we'd be as large as the state economy of the 15th largest state economy in the country. So we have a huge economic impact in our region. If you look at just the 8-county region, we're about half of the economic activity of the 8-county region. It's a little over 1 million jobs, $339 billion in economic impact just in Texas, and $802 billion across the US. So I always put this up here because I like history. That's the City of Houston logo. It was created in 1840. There wasn't even a locomotive in Houston in 1840. If you talked about trains in 1840, they were talking about covered wagon trains, not steam locomotives. When they approved that city seal, the population of Harris County was less than 2,000 people. So our region has always been very forward-looking. To put a locomotive on there, to talk about the future importance of it, The population of Texas even in 1840 was less than 100,000 people. And I took this class, Reuben Askew, I don't know how many of you remember him, but he was the governor of Florida, ran for president in 1980 against Reagan, didn't fare so well. I took a class with him and he showed the population of Florida, and Texas is the same way. You see the population do this, and then it goes like that. Anybody know why?
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning. That's why you see the population of Texas and all the southern states kind of stay low for a long time. And then you see this huge growth of population in the South. This was so forward looking at that time, like it's hard to even imagine. But it laid the groundwork for the foundation and economic success that we see today. 1900, the hurricane hit Galveston. They said, hey, we should probably have a protected port. They decided to dig a 50-mile channel from Galveston all the way up to Houston. That channel opened up in 1914. It was 25 feet deep and 150 feet wide. And we're nowhere close to that today. But it was the start of something. The comptroller of the state of Texas calls us the economic engine of the state of Texas, the Port of Houston. We're the #1 export state for like 15 years in a row. We have the largest waterborne tonnage. We're the busiest waterway in the entire country. Everybody talks about LA and Long Beach, but we have more deep draft ship calls than LA, Long Beach, New York, New Jersey, all combined. We're #1 in a bunch of stuff. The list is too long. 152 million customers within 1,000 miles, 69% of all the containers in the Gulf Coast come through Houston. And like I said, 8,300 vessels, 200,000 barges. We are the busiest waterway in the country. Somebody said it earlier, we are the energy capital of the world. Somebody tries to say Corpus is, but that's a lie. We have more tank storage than they even think about doing business. But that's fine. We all have our part. The Texas ports all work together. And really the Texas ports are the economic engine of the state. Just a little bit about the broader port. And I put this really kind of two ways. There's the broader port, which are over 200 entities. And then there's the Port of Houston or the Port Authority. I'm not supposed to use that word anymore, but we have about 8 facilities, but we're the local sponsor for the ship channel, which is why we're more important than our just 8 facilities. So the broader port, 70% of that cargo is liquid bulk petrochemical business. And then you see the port's impact to the broader port, 20% of its containers. That's our largest business. And we have project cargo, dry bulk, and general cargo. This is where cargo is coming from and going to. 13 years ago, if you looked at this, Asia would be a much smaller than the number is today. This is the overall port. Who's coming in and out? A lot of chemical trading, crude oil trading, not any big surprise there. This is also exports, the ship channel. So this breaks it down by products. So chemicals and minerals, by far the largest import and export. We are growing like crazy, have been for a long time. All of those charts you see just go up and right, which is good. And I'll just talk about this a little bit. Container volume through the Port of Houston. In 2016, the end of 2016, we finished with 2 million 20-foot equivalent units, so a 20-foot box, 2 million. Last year, we finished within a stone's throw of 4 million. So that's double in 6 years, including COVID. So we had a flat year for COVID. So really in 5 years, we've doubled the container volume through the Port of Houston. So what that really means is there's 1 million more trucks on the road in and out of the Port of Houston between 2016 and 2022 than there were. So just huge growth. I put this slide up here because I have to. So that's our Port Commission. They do a great job. Rick Campo, who's the CEO of Camden, is the commissioner for the Port of Houston. Who we are, so we aren't the 200 industries along the ship channel. We own or operate 8 facilities, 2 container terminals, and then other facilities. Like I said, we are the local sponsor for the Houston Ship Channel, which is probably the most important thing we do, because all of that economic activity happens because of the channel. We're the first in a lot of things. The first container ship came through the Port of Houston in 1956. And now we're, I think, either the 5th or 6th largest container port in the US. First double stack container train, first port to meet ISO standards for environmental standards and excellence, and we still are the only port to do that. And most recently, we're the first port to be 100% asset-backed renewable energy. So environment in our community is very important to us. This is just our properties. 2/3 of what we do is containers. We have the 2 largest container terminals on the Gulf Coast. About 23% is bulk cargo. And then we have general cargo, steel, and other. This is an interesting slide. So if I put this slide up here in 2013, the Asian volume would have been 0. And now, and this is actually from the end of 21, we're probably now 42% of our cargo and containers comes from Asia. So that's where the big growth has been, is really cargo coming from Asia into the US and exporting resin, plastic, polypropylene, polyethylene out of the US. And here you can see what comes in and out. One thing that always surprises most people in the top 10 is Red Bull. So keep drinking your energy drinks. We like it. It's volume for us. But Walmart is top 10 importer. 15 years ago, there wasn't a Walmart distribution center here. Now that Walmart distribution center handles 20% of all their North America business. So it's a huge, huge growth opportunity for this region. Has been for a while. Exporters, you'll see Exxon, Vinmar, Muhlstein, Shintech. Those are all resins, polypropylene, polyethylene, exporting resins. Anything that's in your car that's plastic came out of resin material, your milk jugs, the hard plastic PVC pipes. You wouldn't be able to do anything if it wasn't for the polypropylene, polyethylene manufacturing that occurs here. We are the largest export region for resin. I think we export about 67 or 70% of all the resin that gets exported in the US comes out of Houston. This is what comes in: hardware, construction materials, food and drink, retail goods. None of this is probably a surprise. I already talked about this huge container growth. This was through November of last year. You can see we were up almost 20% year over year. And you look, everybody talks about the Port of LA and Long Beach, but the reality is they lost over 5% of their business. We were up almost 20%. We're lucky, one of our strategies is to always invest ahead of the need. So we had room in our container terminals to absorb all that. Now we're accelerating construction to add more capacity because it all got swallowed up right there in 1 year. But fortunately, the turn times for containers are going faster through the port, so we're actually gaining some capacity back because boxes are starting to move. So before COVID, boxes would dwell on our terminal about 3 days. During that peak of COVID, that got up to 7 or 8 days, and now we're coming back down. So imagine a parking lot where you used to cars turning every 12 hours and instead they sit there for 4 days. There's no room in the parking lot, right? Well, that's what happened at the container terminals. Like I said, record growth. We ended up the year, December slipped a little bit, but 14% year-over-year growth. Double the volume from 2016. Total tonnage across everything, containers, pipes, steel, windmill blades, everything was up 22% of the year. We set a record for tons. That's the highest volume of tonnage that we've ever had come through the Port of Houston. We are the largest tonnage port, and we have been for a long time, but Louisiana cheats. They put all their ports together and call them the southern ports of Louisiana or something. But now we actually have more volume than all of their ports combined on the southern end of Louisiana. But what's interesting is if you take those two top ports, we're double number 3. So they're like the first 2 are clear far and above and beyond anyone else. This is just the growth of steel. Through August, it was up like 83% last year. So just incredible growth last year. We finished up the year 49% higher than last year for steel imports. And you know, COVID happened. That was the highest volume that we've had in 5 years. So just the drilling out in West Texas has picked up. Oil prices have went up, so you see a lot of steel coming through the port to go support that activity. Business equity is a huge thing for a port. It's part of our strategic goals. Community is an important part. We are in a community. The environment, our community partners are very important to us. This year, we kicked off a community grants program for communities around the port. I talked about this a little bit earlier with somebody today, but we have a boat tour to Sam Houston. It's been here for a long, long time. It's a pretty cool thing. It gives you a really different perspective of instead of seeing the facility from the highway, you get down the water level and drive and see it. But I will tell you that does not even scratch the surface of seeing the port. The port's kind of like Disneyland. You can't see it all in one day. It's massive. The upper ship channel from the container terminals over to where our office sits at 610 of the ship channel is 26 miles. Then you have 26 miles from the container terminals down to Galveston. So it's a 52-mile channel. You're not going to see that all on one boat or all in one day. So, and there's over 200 facilities, just a massive facility. We've had over 2 million visitors on the Sam Houston since it opened. We partner with universities. Education's obviously a big, important regional workforce development. We spend a lot of time and activity with. Like I said, the environment is important to us. Our carbon footprint's down 55% since 2016. We've went to renewable energy assets. So it's important to us. We've got, this is our sustainability map. There's a lot there, but the important thing is we've got 72 ongoing initiatives around state sustainability and the environment. We added 27 more. So 99, I think we just need to add one more to call it. But, you know, we're investing $1 billion in our assets. We're investing $1 billion in the deepening and widening of the Houston Ship Channel. It's phenomenal investment. It's phenomenal growth. It's a phenomenal economic engine. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the channel. We call it Project 11. I know it's a really catchy name, but it's just because it's the 11th major expansion of the ship channel. There have been probably 100 expansions, but this is the 11th major expansion. It is the most important infrastructure investment project in the country. It's $1 billion, and the reason why is because you think about what occurs here with all the petrochemical industries, the refining that occurs. When Harvey hit Houston, Judge Emmett was a county judge for Harris County. One of the first phone calls that he made was to the Port of Houston asking, when can we get back up? When can the channel open? It's that important because if you remember, excuse me, if you remember, they started talking about grounding airplanes because there wasn't enough aviation fuel. Well, that gets refined here. And that actually is pervasive because you think about rocket fuel for Elon Musk and all the stuff that he's doing at NASA. Well, that gets refined on the ship channel. So there is no space program. There is no aviation program if the ship channel shuts down. And we haven't even gotten to crude oil refining and all the oil that goes into gas that you fill up your power with, right? So it is the most critical infrastructure program and project in the country because of that. Where we are, we started in 2001. The Port Commission awarded the first dredge contract. In June, they awarded another $450 million worth of contracts. Last month, we finished the first segment, and I'll show you the segment map, but last month we finished and completed the first segment. This is why the channel is important. If you look at the blue line going down, that's the depth of the channel. If you look at the gold line going up, that's the population of Houston. They're tied together. They have been for a long time. The greater the population, the deeper the channel needs to be, or the deeper we dig the channel, the greater the population goes. We can argue over which one comes first. It's the chicken and the egg, but they're tied together. This region and the channel are irrevocably tied together. Where we are today and why it's important and what we've done, this top line is if you did the normal process for getting the Army Corps involved in permitting the widening and deepening of the channel and going through the federal government process and trying to get funding and everything else, we wouldn't have that deeper, wider channel till about 2035. We accelerated it. We found money. We've got money from the federal government. We still have about $180 million left to fund that we're trying to get from the Texas legislature. But we're going to be done by the end of 2025. We're taking 10 years off that project. And it's important because that's going to lead to more economic development in our region. You guys are here. You guys asked me to come. Why is this important to Fort Bend County, right? Well, we're deepening and widening this channel, and we're moving a lot of stuff. 1A is right there, and I'll answer that question in a second. But 1A is that segment right there. It was 13 miles. We're continuing to move to the next segments now. But this is why it's important, this map. And I'll talk a little bit about what I do, and maybe I'll even finish on time. My job, when I first got here, the first question I asked is, well, what's important? Like, what roads are important? What railroads important? I'm the only person that's ever had this thing. Nobody can answer the question. So I started this process with a bunch of help. And if you've ever tried herding cats, it was a little bit like that. I got Judge Emmett, TxDOT, about 8 different mayors in the small communities around the Ship Channel, Economic Alliance, East Harris County Manufacturing Association, and anybody else that would listen, Harris County, put them all around a table and said, okay, what are the important projects? And we put together a list. And that was the easy part because everybody's got their pet projects. But what made this different is we prioritized that list. That was the herding cats part, because getting all of those different stakeholders to agree that someone else's project was more important than theirs, good luck. I know you're praying a lot to get through that. But we managed to get through it. We created a list of 32 projects that were the most important for our region. Almost every single one of those projects has progress today. 4 4 of them, probably now 5 of them are complete. We just refreshed that list at the end of last year. And you know when something's worked when somebody wants to be part of it. We went from 32 projects to 47. So the growth is good. I've got our whole region here and it's intentional. The population of Texas is growing, and this is why it's important for y'all and for really the 8-county region and beyond. The population of Texas is growing. I think we all know that. Between now and 2050 something, they're saying almost double. All of that population growth is east of I-35. All of it. Almost all of it is in the triangle. Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. In the past, and I showed this graph earlier, Asian cargo, 0. Now it's 42%. Before, all of that volume that supports this area went to Dallas, from LA, Long Beach, it would come down to Houston, go over to San Antonio, go over to Austin. 40% of our cargo now comes to Houston. A large part of it stays here, but now we're going up to Dallas. We're going over to Austin. We're going over to San Antonio. You see all of these warehousing and distribution facilities that are being built out here on the west side of I-10. Brookshire, Katy, Sealy, down here, everywhere on the west side of town. That's for the west side of town, but it's also to get over to Austin and San Antonio, because now those goods are coming through the Port of Houston. Not all of them, but some of them. As this population continues to increase, there's going to be want to be more cargo coming through Houston to get over to those areas. And as the population of Houston increases, we're going to need to have distribution centers around the city to feed, clothe, and whatever else comes through our containers for our region. That's why what we're doing is important for you all here, because you guys are seeing what comes in these containers end up over here and end up around the region. About 77% of what comes into the containers, their first stop is in our region. But if you look at Walmart, they're the exact opposite. What we take to that distribution center over in Baytown, about 30% of it stays in our region, 70% of it goes out. So we're starting to clothe and feed and everything else, the rest of the people in the state of Texas, as we see this growth in Asian cargo through the Port of Houston and the population growth. So, you know, at some point, I'm going to have freight movement projects from this region on my list because it's going to be important. Today I don't, but you know, as the freight movement expands out from the port, continues across the other sides, west side, the north side, the northeast side, it's going to be important that we invest in that freight transportation network to keep the goods moving efficiently, because in the end, supply chains go to the lowest cost. So if we start to see congestion and it slows down freight movement, makes it more expensive, it'll end up back in Dallas, going to those places instead of coming through Houston. So with all of that, I think this is the last slide. The port, I'll just go to questions. Yours is first, I think.
Are you familiar with what goes in and out of the port on railroad trains?
So there's 2 answers to that question. Our facility's not much. We don't run containers on intermodal trains anywhere. We're trying to. For the port properties, our properties, about 2% of our volume goes on train. For the broader port, a lot more. If you took the railroad out of Houston, I used to work for the railroad, CSX, Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm a huge supporter of the rail industry, because if you took rail out of Houston, if you think we have congestion today, try adding 9 million more trucks a year to the road network. That's the impact of rail in Houston. So there's huge volumes that goes on rail.
Do you know
instead of
what's
truck.
on the trains?
Yeah, there's a lot. But a lot of it's petrochemical. A lot of it's sand. You know, like I said, there's not many containers moving at all on rail. And just the automatic question is why? And the reason is the railroads are private companies. They invest in their networks. They move a lot of volume from LA Long Beach to Dallas. They don't want to move boxes from Houston to Dallas because it impacts their LA to Dallas business, right? So they don't want to move that on rail because they're competing with themselves. So that's why you don't see that. We're working with them to try to find other destinations like Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, Denver, where it makes sense. Yes, sir.
Very quickly, talking about Dallas, I think it's time for clarify our position here in Houston with Dallas, Texas, and also I want to Chicago, Illinois. We are in which position regarding about the other two cities?
So Chicago has the largest rail footprint in the country. We have the second largest rail footprint in the country.
The other item that you were talking about it, we are in first place.
Yeah, from a port perspective, total tonnage, but Dallas gets most of their intermodal containers from LA Long Beach. The majority of them come on that Sunset Corridor. UP and BNSF run trains from LA Long Beach to Dallas, and that's where they get the majority of their volume, but we're chipping away at it slowly.
We're going to see if we can get you to stick around for just a minute.
Sure.
Thank you. Just in the interest of time, we've asked our speaker to stick around and answer your questions directly and personally. If you do that, because we do have a number of guests today that need to leave. So I'm going to try to respect their need as well. But what a great presentation. I've got to just say, when you think about over 100 years ago, when somebody came forward and said, you know, why don't we just build a channel 52 miles from the Gulf up here, and we'll have the Port of Houston. It'll end up being the largest port in the United States. And don't you know that some people had questions about that? But now we end up not only seeing it, appreciating it. And I got to tell you, Fort Bend County is directly in the path as things begin to move westward. And it's just, and that's why the Port of Houston is so critically important to us, Bill. Oh, and we do have a gift for our speaker. We'll take a moment. I'll open that with you in just a moment. Please meet Scott Finley at the back of the room to talk about Shrimp Fest. And he's so right. We are running out of time. And this is our biggest and most important fundraiser. And frankly, it's going to carry next year's team. This is going to be Natalie's and her board of directors' primary source of funding. So it's so important that we've got two sets of boards of directors that really need to be engaged in this, because it's going to carry us well into 2024. So thank you so much for being with us. Muthu, congratulations. Jeff, thank you for making this happen. And so good to Ms. Hinchman. It's good to see you and to have you back with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All else, I'm going to ask Ziad if he would stand and lead us in the Rotarians primary test. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Indeed. Thank you so much, and we're adjourned. Lana, good to see you.
Tablecloth, no big deal. No big. We're all good. Forgot to get rid of this.
Oh.
Yeah, most cities like Houston, it's plastic.
Well, I was saying.
What do you know?
All right. Thanks.
I work on the land side. Work on the house. I appreciate it.
I really enjoy it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to